I have a best friend named Tina who I've known most of my life. We've had a strong friendship from middle school all the way until we graduated from the same college. We've always been there for each other and I tell her pretty much everything. Back in junior year of high school, a guy named Rod sexually assaulted me at a house party. He never apologized for it and it put me in a deep downward spiral to the point where I almost wanted to drop out in order to never see his face again. I told Tina about it and she did everything she could to support me. Fast forward to early 2020. Tina and her boyfriend Josh announced that they were getting engaged and Tina wanted me to be the maid of honor. I was beyond excited to do it. We've always talked about being each other's maids of honor. There was another detail though. Josh had a similar friendship history with his best man and they thought it would be adorable if the maid of honor and best man worked together on everything and were their own second package on the wedding day. I guess it was their way of making us feel a little more excited for weddings of our own. I found out that the best man was going to be Rod and he and Josh remained best friends after high school. I thought Rod was just in the friend group, but it turns out that they're as close as could be. My heart sunk and I simply didn't know how to respond. They expected us to work together and be together the whole wedding process, and that sounded like literal hell. I started to think about whether Tina ever told Josh or that Josh heard and just didn't care. All I know is that I was having second thoughts about the wedding after that. I texted Tina about my concerns with Rod coming in the most polite way possible, and she sent me this. I know about what happened with you guys back in the day, but Rod seems like a great guy now. It would just really mean a lot if you could just push that memory away for the duration of this. Please, just trust me. I don't know how to respond to this, and luckily the wedding planning process has been at a halt since COVID. I haven't responded to her since that text, but now this has really been bugging me. If I say no, it would probably break her heart, but I just don't know if I can handle working with my rapist. Am I wrong for not wanting to work with him during her wedding? Part 2, my best friend wants me to work with my rapist on her wedding. I finally replied to Tina with, I've had time to think about it and I just can't be your maid of honor anymore. It's so hurtful that you're telling me to pack up my trauma for who knows how long until your wedding day. I just can't do it. I don't think I'll come at all knowing that he's going to be there. I'm sorry. An hour later, I get a call from Josh. He asked me what's going on with me and Tina and that she was extremely upset. A part of me snapped and I said, I don't know, what's going on with you making someone who raped me your best man? He was confused and I repeated myself. He was silent for a few seconds and then asked if he could come over. I was a little wary of the idea, but I said sure. He comes to my apartment 40 minutes later without Tina. Tina had told Josh that the reason I wasn't coming to the wedding was that I didn't want to work with Rod. Because I had a crush on him and that she was forcing the relationship too much. So basically, she said that we had a petty girl fight. My jaw hit the floor and I was fuming. She had obviously never told Josh what Rod did to me. I shared that Rod had raped me back in high school and that Tina knew about it. I asked if he knew too. He said he didn't, but at one point Rod did mention a few crazy bitches falsely accused him of rape senior year. This obviously didn't include me since I only told Tina and a few family members. Josh believed him at the time, but I guess after hearing me say it, it's starting to dawn on him that his friend was a liar. I could see on Josh's face and body language that the realization really weighed down on him and I felt bad. He thanked me for telling him and left. I was expecting an angry text to come from Tina and sure enough, I got it at like midnight. She went off saying that I'm gonna end up destroying their marriage, how I could do that to her, etc, etc. I just pressed the block button and went to bed. I'm gonna try to connect with other friends and try to move on from this. If I'm feeling brave enough, I might try to find these crazy bitches and see if we can make a case against Rod. Storytime about this guy who was harassing his ex-girlfriend at the bar I worked at. I work in a sports bar and grill in a reasonably small town. We're a popular hangout for local college kids as one of the only spots with a full bar and some decent grub. I love this because contrary to popular belief, young people are usually better tippers and just all around more pleasant to their servers than the older crowd. One drawback though is they're certainly more dramatic than the older crowd. With these college kids, it's often either the best thing to spot your friends out and they get loud and excitable, or there's some rift between the groups and they get loud and excitable. For example, we had a college-age couple that came in a bunch almost every weekend. Then they split up. I see the guy from time to time getting loaded with his buddies, but the girl stopped coming in altogether. I figure she only came because he was bringing her here. On Friday, we were having ladies' night and she comes in with a small group of girls. There were maybe 5 altogether. They sat down at a booth and ordered some cheap drinks and kept to themselves. Fast forward like half an hour, this guy and his buddies come in. Without realizing, they take seats at the bar directly adjacent to this girl in her booth. I didn't recognize them as the couple at first, but the guy spotted her and let's just say it became immediately clear who left who. Despite what he said. He started in with all these passive-aggressive and loud comments to his pals about how glad he was he dropped that fat bitch who was weighing him down, looking desperately over his shoulder hoping that she'd overhear him. She didn't, or if she did, she ignored him. He kept going with the insults for another moment or two before he got into some derogatory stuff about her breast specifically, and the bartender told him he had to keep it down because he was bothering people. The night went on and all parties involved got more drunk, his a lot more than hers. But she and her friends ignored him. Eventually, they got up to go dance and he quickly follows. I was lingering around, bringing drinks to people and keeping tabs to be sure nothing escalated. This poor girl, he was really tearing into her. The especially psycho thing is he alternated between insulting her and begging her to take him back. You fat ugly bitch, I never wanted to be with you in the first place. I was with all my exes while we were together. And you'll never do better than me, so you should take this chance while you have it. We can start over. I forgive you. From this pathetic guy in the same string of conversation. She kept blowing him off and her friends who were taking notice kept breaking it up and relocating themselves. I was seconds away from having our bouncer spring him, but he seemed to cool off. However, that only lasted until she came to the bar where he followed her, but something amazing happened next. Part 2 of the guy who was harassing his ex-girlfriend at the bar I work at. So it only lasted until she came to the bar, not anywhere near him mind you, to get herself another drink. He starts saying all this stuff about, you think anyone will ever want you like that? You can have me or you can have nothing. And I don't even want you. You were the worst decision I ever made. I don't even know why I'm giving you this chance. And on, until he's cut off by, what are you saying to my girl, bro? A towering guy sat down, put his arm around her and was like, sorry I'm late, babe. Practice kept dragging. Can I help you, son? He was 10 times more put together, better spoken, better dressed, way less effing sad or terrifying than the guy who'd been bothering her all night. The pathetic one was so drunk at this point that he didn't recognize he was outmatched and started launching into this incoherent screaming of, she's a skink, whore, B, and you better not touch her because she's mine. To which the towering, calm guy stood up, took his jacket off and said, without raising his voice, oh, so we have a problem? This guy's friends noticed the situation and came to collect him at this point, just before one of our staff could intervene. But this new guy followed him over to his friends. He got right in his face and said, if you have a problem with her, then you have a problem with me, so I think it's time to bounce. Drunk guy wasn't having any of it, but his friends were smarter, or at least more sober, and knew they didn't want trouble. Once they were gone, new guy went back over to his girl and says, hi, nice to meet you. My name's Isaiah. Sorry to get all involved like that. I hope I didn't overstep. It's just, I could not listen to another second of that. Seriously, that guy is scary. That's why I went with the boyfriend thing instead of saying, hey, you suck, time to go. I've got 3 sisters and he set off all my alarm bells. At this point, I'm stunned. I was wondering who'd bring a date to ladies' night. They'd never even met. He was just a stranger who stepped in to protect her. After this, they chatted a bit and he walked her out. They were back here for their first date today. I'm 30 and my girlfriend, 27, is Indian. She moved to the US a few years back. I'm American, white if that matters, and we live in North Carolina. My girlfriend loves to cook. She told me so on our first date. However, I'm not the biggest fan of Indian food. I find that a lot of spices used in Indian food irritate my stomach and I have a very low tolerance for hot and spicy foods. She's never had an issue with this and never forced me to eat anything I didn't want to. In fact, whenever I stayed over, she made me things like pancakes and French toast and they were incredible. She's a very good cook. 2 weeks ago, we moved in together. Our place is a large, fully equipped kitchen and my girlfriend was ecstatic about all the things that she can do. I was happy to see her so happy. However, in all of our excitement, I didn't realize how our food preferences can actually become a problem. You see, I didn't realize that she cooks and eats a lot of Indian food, like all the time. For the past year, whenever we've spent time at each other's apartments, she's always made me things like ramen, pasta, lasagna, tacos, soups, grilled cheese, etc. I figured that's what she normally ate. I have a few Indian American friends and they told me that they don't exclusively eat Indian food at home, so I thought it was the same thing with her. Yesterday, she was super excited to show me something and dragged me to the kitchen. There, she unveiled a whole drawer of spices. We're talking about 20 to 30 different types of whole, crushed, powdered spices, neatly stored in glass bottles and labeled. I asked why she needed so many spices and she replied, to cook Indian food, silly? I told her that I didn't like Indian food and she told me not to worry, she wouldn't force me to eat anything. That is just for her meals and that she'd made separate meals for me. I asked her if she could simply not cook Indian food in our house at all because the smell is so pungent and if she'd cook regular food instead. She told me that Indian food is regular food to her and I'm going to have to get used to it. I insisted and she said that she'll only consider giving up cooking Indian food if I give up cooking up meat at home. She's vegetarian because she doesn't like the smell of the meat being cooked. I told her that it was unfair to ask because she never objected when I cooked meat at my apartment. She told me that she's only demanding that I give it up because I'm doing the same thing to her. I got quite mad and told her that she was being extremely unreasonable as I need meat. I work out a lot and I need protein, but she doesn't need Indian food all the time and she can order takeout if she craves it. She told me that restaurants are not very good where we live and it's unhealthy to eat takeout every day. We ended up arguing for a while and now we're not talking to each other. Am I the asshole for insisting that she doesn't cook with spices? I own a vape shop. We're a small business with only 12 employees. One of my employees, Peggy, was supposed to open yesterday. I recently promoted Peggy to manager after 2 solid years of good work as cashier. I really thought that she could handle the responsibility. So I wake up 3 hours after the place should have been open and I have 22 notifications on the store Facebook page. Customers have been trying to come to the shop, but the store is closed. Employees are showing up to work, but they're locked out. I call Peggy and get no response. I text her and same thing. So I go in and open the store. An hour before her shift was supposed to be over, she calls me back. I ask her if she's okay and she says she needed to take a mental health day and do some self-care. I'm still pretty pissed at this point, but I'm trying to be understanding, as I know how important mental health can be. So I ask her why she didn't call me as soon as she knew that she needed the day off. Her response, I didn't have enough spoons in my drawer for that. Frankly, I don't know what that means, but it seems to me like she's saying that she cannot be trusted to handle the responsibility of opening the store in the morning. So I told her that she has 2 choices. Either go back to her old position with her old pay, or I fire her completely. She's calling me all sorts of is now and says that I'm discriminating against her due to her poor mental health and her gender. None of this would have been a problem if she simply took 2 minutes to call out. I would have gotten up and opened the store on time. But this no call, no show shit is not the way to run a successful business. I think I might be the asshole here because I am taking away her promotion over something she really had no control over. But at the same time, she really could have called me. Am I the asshole for telling an employee that she can choose between demotion or termination? Part 2, am I the asshole for telling an employee that she can choose between demotion or termination? Pecky reached out to me yesterday and apologized and asked if we could meet for lunch. We met up, and the first thing she did was apologize again for the no-call, no-show, and also for her reaction to my response. She admitted that she knows I'm not sexist or ableist, and explained that she was lashing out due to her mental state. I accepted her apology and offered her one of my own, both for giving too much responsibility too quickly and also for reacting out of emotion. She explained to me that she had a major issue on Monday, and without getting into too much detail, I'll just say that it was an anniversary of a bad thing. She's taking all of her accumulated PTO, 9 weeks, and we've agreed that going forward, I'm not going to put her on the schedule on that day ever again. She's admitted that she's not up to the role of manager. When she returns, she'll be in the role of lead cashier, a role I created specifically for her. This way, she can keep her raise and not feel like she got a demotion, but rather a lateral transfer. I've also let her know that if she ever feels like she's up to more responsibility, she can let me know and I'll put her right back on track for the manager spot. Also, I let her know that if she's ever in the position where she's not able to call out, she can simply text me a thumbs down emoji and I will accept that as a notice that she'll be missing her next shift. She agreed that that will be okay even when she's out of spoons. Hopefully we can both move forward from this unfortunate incident and end up better for it.